Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Knapik. Every week we talk with interesting people in a variety of professions, and along the way, get ideas to enhance success in all categories of your life. Successful Living with Bill Knapik starts right now. And here's your host, Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show, Successful Living with Bill Knapik, and today's Successful Living with Mike Alexander. He is known far and wide, especially here in Houston, Texas, as the Medicare Whisperer. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Here we are once again, and let's tell people it's a catchy name, the Medicare Whisperer, so it must have something to do with Medicare. Let's tell people about your company.
Yes, sir. What we basically do is we help people get through the maze of Medicare. One of our mottos is, if your Medicare looks like the New York Times crossword puzzle, call us. We've got the correct answers.
And it is complex as people enter the world where they need to know. Certainly benefits are so important, our health benefits. But as we enter that world, it's not easy to navigate. That's why we need people like you.
That's correct. You need somebody to steer the ship. That's what we do.
And
we steer you through the maze.
You've been doing this how long?
32 years.
Wow. So you know a lot. Plus, there are always new things to know about, because any kind of government thing or anything in general is always changing, right?
Absolutely. In 2020, there were some pretty big changes in Medicare.
Well, first, let's tell people about the group, the audience, the target that you are out there serving, because is it people that are 65 and older, or when should we start thinking about it? I would think way before 65. When do we prepare or think about what's going to happen?
Well, you really should start looking at what you're going to do for your retirement, for your Medicare benefits. I would say around 62, 63 years old. You should start looking and getting information and start doing your research on what's going to be the best option for you. And we can kind of help you pick those options.
So really, I'm a guy that likes to get ready for things. I think I'm going to start thinking about it when I hit 60.
Yep.
Just to be ready. I mean, the United States Coast Guard, their motto is be prepared,
That's
semper
right.
paratus. So I'm all about that. So as people are approaching that age, or those that have even crossed that 65 point, let's tell people, if you've already crossed 65 years old, what should you be thinking about then if you're at that age already and beyond?
If you've already hit 65, then what you want to do is Medicare has enrollment periods. So you want to think about enrolling in Medicare 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of your birthday, or 3 months after your 65th birthday. That is what's called the open enrollment period for Medicare when you first turn 65.
And I think I'm seeing at this point in time, there are even TV ads that are talking about, we're reminded about these open enrollment points,
That's
right?
Got Joe Namath and
That's right.
Mike
Joe's on there.
all of them are in there. Yeah, you bet. They're baby boomers too.
Yeah, they're over 65, both of those
That's right.
guys. There's no question about that. So let's tell people, as we plan, how does someone know when they need a professional like you to help them out?
Well, one of the things nowadays, people are working longer, right? So there's a big decision that a lot of people have to make depending on where you work and how many employees are in the company that you work for. So a lot of people make the mistake that, well, I don't want any part of Medicare. Well, they all should sign up for Part A, okay? Even if they plan on still working with the company, they should sign up for Part A. There's only one reason they wouldn't, and that's if they're in what's called a health savings account or an HSA. You wouldn't want to sign up for either A or B if you were in that situation.
So if you are 65 or approaching 65 in this open enrollment period, you want to sign up for Part A, even if you're on your company insurance. Is that correct?
Absolutely, because Part A is still going to help you cover what your group insurance doesn't. Your group insurance most of the time will pay first, and then your Medicare will pay secondary if your company has over 20 employees. If the company has under 20 employees, Medicare pays first and the group plan pays secondary.
I think it's very popular, especially people that are enjoying what they do, or maybe people that have to work. A lot of people want to keep on working as they're enjoying their jobs, and many of them want to stay on their company insurance. Let's tell people, if you have the option after 65, what are the things that we should think about to decide, do we want to stay on the company insurance or do we want to go on Medicare? Because we would have a choice at that point.
You sure do. You have a choice both ways. So what you've got to look at is, first of all, what your income is, because your Part B premium is affected by your income. So that's one choice you got to look at. Are you going to be paying more for Medicare and a supplement than you would be paying for your group health plan? Okay, so you have to look at your income because Medicare now charges you based on your income.
All right, let's say someone's income is below $100,000.
Then their Part B premium is going to run $144.
Let's say it's over $150,000.
It's still going to be $144.
So that, and then at what point does it become expensive or higher?
For a single person, $85,000. For a married couple, $204.
Interesting. What are some of the other considerations? So we think about that many times. Then it sounds like maybe from convenience, at least, it's easier to stay on your company program.
Sure it is. But you don't want to miss that window of enrolling in Medicare Part A.
We need to do that. So let the word go forth. We are with the Medicare Whisperer.
Correct.
Over 30 years of experience dealing with the government language, which is complex, kind of like doing your taxes when you start reading all this stuff. But that's another story. But for sure, when you're approaching 65, or if you're forgetting, all of a sudden you're having that 65th birthday, get the Part A.
You bet.
That
3
way
months before, the month of, 3 months after.
Because one of the things, and I'm not an expert, but just from talking to you previously, one of the things I think that happens is the government, and I don't know why they would do this, they wouldn't make things complex just to make it complex, would they?
Oh, of course not.
In that light and in that thought, if you don't do it exactly right the way they tell you to,
right,
there's something called a penalty.
That's right.
They're real quick to put that penalty out there.
They are, and
very
what a
important.
lot of people don't realize is that penalty, it's not just a one-time penalty. It stays with you for the rest of your life.
Oh, now wait a second. Let's how does that work?
Well,
so let's say what do we do to have that problem?
Sure. Let's say that you're leaving your employer and you decided not to enroll in Medicare Part B after you've left your employer.
How old am I?
Let's say you're 68.
I'm 68 years old, and say that again. I'm 68.
That you're leaving your employer, but you elected to go on COBRA and not go on Medicare Part B. Well, Medicare does not consider COBRA as credible coverage. So you would be assessed a 10% penalty for not enrolling in Part B after you leave your employer.
Now, have I already enrolled in Part A?
Yes.
Okay, so
we're
this is someone
you've enrolled in Part A.
Now, if someone didn't enroll in Part A and Part B, they're still created a hassle for themselves. It sounds like
they have. It's much easier if you have A. You have 63 days to get on Medicare Part B without a penalty after you terminate your employment.
It's complicated.
It is.
And
mistakes can cost you.
Mistakes can cost you. There are minefields that you can step on. So it pays to be informed. It pays to reach out to you. And let's tell people, by the way, your website is?
Sure. TheMedicareWhisperer.com.
How can people forget that, Mike?
That's right. Easy to remember.
MedicareWhisperer.com. And I met you a long time ago on another radio show. So you have been out there working for years and years for people to know about you, and you're helping people. And I remember hearing you years ago. That was the thing that struck me, which surprised me. And I bet it surprises other people that we forget a lot of stuff or we miss deadlines. I didn't realize that there's stiff penalties for missing deadlines. And in this case, it pays to really know what you're doing and plan ahead.
Absolutely. And we publish a little booklet for people that are approaching Medicare age or already Medicare age. It's called the Medicare Starter Guide. So we offer that to everybody. They can go to our website and request a copy. I'll be happy to email it to them.
MedicareWhisperer.com. In fact, I saw you pull up to the studio. You even have a sign on your car.
I do. Yes, sir. They can't miss me.
Do you ever get a call from someone that's been in traffic and they say, hey, I saw your car and I'm 65 or getting there?
I actually have.
That is amazing. So let's tell people, what are some of the other things that we should know in general that are related to the work that you do as we get to be in our 60s?
Sure. Well, one of the things that you want to start doing when you approach your 60s is you want to start planning. You got to plan for two things. You got to plan for Medicare, you got to plan for your retirement, and you've also, when you're turning 70, you've got to, well, now it's 72, they just changed it, but you got to worry about your distributions from your 401k. because there's a severe penalty on those if you don't take them when you're supposed to. There's like a 50% penalty for not taking your 401k distributions on time.
So now we have, just from a timeline, age, we need to be on top of things when we're 65.
Right.
And get those things in order for our health care. And then number 2, when we start to get to be 70,
that's right.
Here's another program. And by the time those years from now, depending where someone is at, things are always changing. You really you need the expert like yourself.
Yeah, we get calls all the time about that, all the time.
Let's tell people the name of your company, Mike, and what are there any other things that you do and your team does?
Yes, sir. Some of the other things that we do is a lot of people are inundated by so many things in your mailbox. When you start turning 65, your mailbox basically becomes a neighborhood recycling station, because you're getting so much stuff.
That's
from
exactly
all the
right.
carriers.
Yeah,
and that even makes it even more confusing.
More confusing.
So we also try to help people, instead of just telling them to go sign up for Medicare, we actually go online with them, walk them through how to sign up for Medicare. If they want to start taking their Social Security, start drawing it, we show them how to do that, and we help them do that also. So we kind of consult you on when's the best time to draw your Social Security based on your particular situation also.
I'm glad you mentioned that. As far as that goes, once again, we'll use the example of the person that's enjoying their job. Mm-hmm. They're 65, maybe 68, and what is it, at 63 or something, you have the opportunity for that first layer of money if you want to take your Social
62.
Security. 62, all right. And then, of course, the longer you wait, the more you get.
Correct.
The next bump is at 66.
Yeah, you're full. Most people are hitting the 66 full retirement age, depending on the year of your birth.
And that's what they call it. Full retirement age is at 66.
That's based on your year of birth. Okay.
All right, so 66 comes around. Someone may be tempted to say, look, I'm working, but
right,
I might as well take it. I've been putting in.
Right.
Or if they wait to be 70, then they get as much as they can get. Is that correct?
For every year that they wait past their full retirement age, again, whatever that is, 66, 67, whatever their year of birth is, they have the opportunity to let that money accrue. If you don't need the money, which I did that myself, I didn't need the money, so I let my Social Security benefits accrue. So you get 8% for every year you wait to draw it up to 70, and then it caps out. So there's no reason to really wait at all past 70. You should start drawing it.
Take the money.
Take the money. Yeah, take the money.
What about someone that is 66 at that full retirement age? How should they determine whether they should take the money or not?
What they have to look at is how much money they're going to make. If they're going to make their full paycheck, then you have to be careful, because you might throw yourself into a tax situation by having to pay some.
You're in a higher tax bracket,
right?
Because the Social Security money is going to put that on top of our regular income if we're working.
That's correct. Another instance is, let's say your wife was a teacher and she worked for TRS. Then you would want to let that benefit accrue for as long as you could, so that when you died, your wife, since she's not going to get Social Security because she's drawing the teacher retirement, she'll get half of your higher benefit and half of your lower benefit, which could really help a single spouse out.
We're talking with Mike Alexander, known far and wide as the Medicare Whisperer, MedicareWhisperer.com, right,
That's
Mike?
That's correct.
Easy to find, Mike. But also, let's say, just as a point of interest, we always, when we talk about taxes, tax brackets, are all at different income levels.
Correct.
People are making 50, 20, 100, 300, but there's some people making mega bucks just out of curiosity. Let's say someone is in that, I mean, you could take your world's richest guy or person, but let's just say someone's making and has made for most of their working life. Let's say they made $5 million every year, right? Yeah. And they're putting money just like I am. I'm not making $5 million a year yet, but they're putting in money to Social Security, right? So at that high income level, what is the most someone could ever make in Social Security if they've been earning really high all the time? Is there a number there?
It's around $4,400.
So no matter who it is,
that's the cap.
So it doesn't matter, $100 million a year.
That's correct.
That's the most you can get. So the reason I say that is because a lot of times when we see our statement come from Social Security, and it says, hey, you might get 3,500 or 24. Hey, you're not that far from the richest
That's
guy.
right.
That may be the
Richest
only
guy in the world. Yeah,
that may be the only time we're close to that high earning individual. That super high earning individual,
right.
by the way. Interesting. That's
exactly
how my mind
right.
works. I don't know why I think of these things, Mike. But let's tell people, what are some of the other things that you have learned? You've been doing this so long. And let's help people. We already said you have to be on top of things. Consult Mike Alexander, no doubt about that. But what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people make that you say, look, I wish I would have talked to you a year ago,
Right.
because now they're in trouble and they may not get the benefits that they deserve?
That's correct.
Like the top two mistakes. What do you
The
say?
top two mistakes is not enrolling in Medicare Part B when they're supposed to, missing their deadline. The second thing is not drawing, and just about every day I get a call on it, is they haven't started their withdrawals on their 401k after age 70. Of course, now that law just changed. It's going from 70 to 72.
That's
now.
right, 70 to 72.
Yeah, it just changed. So, but let's say 72. If you don't withdraw, start taking those distributions the year of that year that you turn 72, it is a stiff penalty. And we have people call all the time. They're calling me about their tax bill. Their CPA said they owe all this money because they simply failed to watch and plan for when they should start taking those distributions.
Let's repeat that. That sounds like the good news is that there's two big mistakes people make. So if they could head that off at the pass and be prepared,
Correct.
we can help some people, and then you can help them as well. So number one, make sure you enroll for Medicare Part B
When you're supposed to.
when you're supposed to. And when are they supposed to again, Mike?
Again, if they're terminating employment, they need to enroll in Part B within 63 days after they terminate employment. They want to make sure they don't elect COBRA, because COBRA is not considered credible coverage to Medicare, or they'll assess that 10% penalty.
What if you're fired? Same thing?
If you're fired, you've got 63 days to sign up for Part B.
So then, in other words, forget the COBRA in either of these circumstances and sign up for Part B.
Absolutely.
But make sure that before all this, you signed up for Part A.
That's correct.
Now, how big a mistake
Everybody should do Part A.
I mean,
There's only one reason that they wouldn't do Part A.
you forgot or you don't care.
Yeah, well, if you're in a health savings account where your employer is contributing into a tax-deferred health savings account, that's the only time that you would want to opt out of A and B both.
And also, I want to say this in terms of a disclaimer. We're not covering every circumstance. There's veterans, there's
Hundreds.
disabled people.
That's
We're just
correct.
generally speaking, so just trying to help here. But just bear in mind, consult an expert for your individual circumstance. Consult Mike Alexander,
You bet.
TheMedicareWhisperer.com, and your scenario could be a little different. But we're just talking general terms. So those are two big mistakes right there.
Two of the biggest ones.
And if you can do that, tell us some good news about Medicare. The coverage is good, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the coverage is good. It's reasonably priced if you're doing the things in the timeline that you should. Is that correct?
That's correct. Medicare gives you a lot of choices, and everybody that's on Medicare, myself included, very happy with it. I have the best health insurance I've ever had.
So it's even better than what we get from our employer?
Absolutely.
And why is that? More things
Well,
covered, or?
You don't have to worry about a network. If you have traditional Medicare and you get a supplement, you can go anywhere you want to go. You don't have to deal with being in or out of network. As long as the doctor takes Medicare, 93% of them do take traditional Medicare. Or if you don't want to spend the money for a supplement, you have the option of what's called Medicare Advantage. You can elect to go on a PPO or HMO program and not have a premium other than your Medicare Part B.
Okay, and once again, this is something to consult with you, because it's also that there's an element to this. While this is offered to people that hit these age milestones, there's also some tailoring that needs to be done in terms of having it be right for your situation.
Absolutely.
Or for you and your wife if you're married.
Absolutely. Everybody's different. And the beauty of Medicare is it's very customizable to your needs.
When people enter this decade of their 60s and 70s, what are some of the other things that you've seen them do, or what would you advise, number one, that is a result of seeing people make mistakes out there, or maybe things that they don't think about?
Sure. One of the things is that people don't take any medications is a good example, and they decide they don't want to enroll in Medicare Part D. Well, that also carries a penalty. Medicare Part D, the penalty is 1% per month for every month you don't enroll in a Medicare Part D when you first became eligible. And, nobody knows what's going to happen to you health-wise. So even if you're not taking any medications, 3 years from now, you may need medications. And now, when you sign up for that Part D, you're going to be assessed that penalty of 36%.
So here's another thing. All right, so let's just say I'm 65, and I do not work for a company. I'm retired.
Okay.
I've signed up for Part A. I'm signing up for Part B right away. And then I should sign up for Part D even though I don't take medications?
You should, because who knows down the road, because you're going to be assessed a penalty if you don't.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I get to be that age, I'm consulting you because I don't want to
Absolutely.
forget anything, and that's what I recommend people to do. But A, B, where's C? Is there a Part C? What I'm afraid to ask.
That's good. Part C is the Medicare Advantage plans. That's the ones that fill up your mailboxes every year. Is the HMOs, the PPOs. So it's a replacement for traditional Medicare that's run by a private insurance company. Yeah. So when you sign up for a Medicare Advantage plan, you no longer are enrolled in Medicare, traditional Medicare A and B. You're enrolled in what's called a Medicare Part C plan.
Okay, there's a lot of other letters in the alphabet left. We don't have time to go to all of them, and I'm afraid to ask if we have to go Part E, F.
We can help. No, just call us.
That's the
what
time
we're there for.
To reach out to Mike Alexander, the Medicare Whisperer, MedicareWhisperer.com. Mike, the last 30 seconds or so, is there anything else that you want people to know about? And we'll remind them of the website again.
Sure. It's the MedicareWhisperer.com. And another thing, that Medicare, as good as it is, it does have a couple of holes. And one of the holes with traditional Medicare is in home health care. So I always try to advise people that if you've had really and truly 5 out of 10 people will at some time need home health care or go into a nursing home. So Medicare, that's the one limit it has.
Doesn't
home
cover
health care. It covers it, but very limited. So you want to add a supplement while you're still young enough to afford it.
There you go. It's never too early to call Mike Alexander. It sounds like. The Medicare Whisperer. Thank you, Mike, for being on the show.
Bill, thank you. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to Successful Living with Bill Knapik, and today with Mike Alexander, the Medicare Whisperer. Go to his website, MedicareWhisperer.com, and you can also go to RadioBill.net for more information on this show and for past shows. Thanks again, Mike.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.